have another YouTube algorithm recommended video according to the insights, and it says how to achieve anything in life. And anything, not something, but anything. That's a pretty tall order, but we can talk about it because I've actually talked about this in an earlier video. You can find it. I think it's either the end of last year's video or it's the first video of this year, and I made that video to kind of like be like a placeholder for your life. Whenever you feel like stuck in life, I wanted you to refer back to that video, and that what I expressed in that video is basically the solution to achieving anything in life, right? So this is just another opportunity for me to rehash the message of that video, and what that message is whatever is happening in your life, regardless of whether you are happy with your life or unhappy with your life, anything that is already happening in your life is a result of something. It may seem completely random, but when you really look into the randomness, you find that even the random events have a reason for happening, or you don't understand the depth of the complexity of what gave arising to that thing that's happening in your life. So, why this is important is whatever life you are living right now is a reflection of your belief system. It's a reflection of your values. It is a reflection of all the life forces pushing you towards a certain direction, okay? So, when you let yourself be, when you don't really have any intentions in your life, like cognitive intention. So this is different from, I need to get a good job. This is different from, I need to not disappoint my parents. This is different from, I need to, be worthwhile in society. Because these things, they seem like intentions, but it's more or less like a programming. Everybody thinks these things. So when you have an intention, is actually taking you to a different course of life, different from your programmed life, right? But most people spend their entire life following the programmed path, thinking that they are, like being conscious about their life. And usually, 9 times out of 10, what tends to happen in that kind of life is they become replicas of their parents' life. Why? Because that's what we learned in our upbringing. The core parts of our personality and being are formed in the first 3 years. And whatever happens after that is a reinforcement of that in most cases, right? So you want to revert to that, and you want to continue follow that stream by default. That's by design. But time to time, we find that life is full of suffering. Time to time, we find that I'm doing all these things so that they can have a positive impact on my life. I'm doing these things so that I can be happy. But you will come across moments where you're like, wait, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not really happy. And when you come across those moments, you get to reevaluate the decision of your life, right? So for example, you can't say no to people. And you engage in what people call people pleasing, because you just can't say no to people. You don't want to upset other people. You don't want to disappoint other people. So you keep saying yes. And you keep getting into pickles that you can't go out of because you keep getting so exhausted and burnt out by life, because you keep making life more complicated for yourself because you have no sense of inner authority. And so you're like, wait, but I'm doing this so that I can avoid conflicts, because avoiding conflict should be something that's good for me. But I'm getting myself deeper and deeper into all of these pickles. And so like I'm living a life that's supposed to be good for me, but it's not. And every once in a lifetime or every once in a while, you are like recognizing these things, and then you're like, okay, by default, my life wants me to take a certain direction. But I need to unconsciously and intentionally take my life a different way. I need to learn how to say no, even though it's uncomfortable for me. I need to apply myself even though I want to be lazy. And why would I want to be lazy? It's because, like maybe you were coddled. Maybe you were you were a child who was conceived after many, many difficulties, and your parents would give you the moon and the world and back, right? And so they kind of like take care of everything for you, so you don't know what it's like to be an independent adult, so you want to fall back to your safety net. But it turns out your parents aren't going to be around forever, and not everybody coddles you in the same way your parents do. So in that sense, you're like, wait, like my life is supposed to be easy, but why is it so hard? And then you realize, wait, oh, okay, so in order for me to like actually work in life, in order for me to actually live my life independent from my parents, I need to learn how to adult myself. So these are the different directions that you are gonna take in life from a more conscious angle, right? So the key takeaway from so far is that living an intentional life is hard, and it's by design because you're just used to living life a certain way. But take the meaning out of it. It doesn't mean that you're meant, oh, maybe this path isn't for me. It doesn't mean that, oh, maybe, in my past life, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the stars aren't aligned for this, and maybe I should revert to, and maybe blah, blah, blah. Okay, so those are ascribing meaning to the very natural side effect of things being difficult, right? So my favorite analogy to use for this is like, if you're right-handed, when you try to be left-handed, not only do you have to learn how to be left-handed, but you also have to work against the urge to go back to right-handedness because it's so slow and it's so frustrating, right? So just remember that left-handedness is like gonna be an acquired thing for you. Then of course it's hard. You've never done it before. That muscle hasn't been developed. And of course it's faster when you do things with the right hand because that's how you lived, right? But it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be a left-handed person, right? It doesn't mean that you can't be a left-handed person. You just gotta accept that it's difficult simply because you have lived a right-handed lifestyle, and that's all there is to it, right? So whatever you want to be in life, right? Like you want to achieve something, you want to be a software engineer, good. But if you're not already a software engineer, then your life is probably taking you to a different direction. So of course for you, like software engineering is gonna feel hard. There's a very big difference between something being actually hard and feeling hard. It's gonna feel hard, but that's it. It doesn't mean it's actually hard. If you're subscribed to my channel, you will know that I started surfing this year, right? Surfing feels hard. But now that I'm at a certain level, I'm like, wait, this isn't actually that hard, right? So it just takes time and it just takes experience for me to get used to that feeling of difficulty. And then I come to be like, oh, this is so hard, this is so hard, this is so hard. And then I'm like, after a certain moment, I'm like, wait, I keep saying it's hard, but is it? It's not really hard, right? So I'm not saying I'm like some Kelly Slater level of god of surfing or whatever. I'm saying what I have come to so far. It felt so hard to come to this level, but now that I am here, is it actually hard? Not that really, right? So, in order for you to achieve anything, you have to understand the mechanics of your life, make it feel difficult for you to achieve something that is not already in your trajectory. So, expect difficulty, but understand that it's not necessarily difficult, it just feels difficult. So, it's important to have a longer view of life and longer pace in life. So, when you try and when you try really hard to eat, it's gonna be hard to eat. But this is so difficult to imagine because eating is such an ordinary thing, right? Perhaps a better example of this is like sleeping. When you're comfortable and you have nothing to do and tomorrow is a Sunday, you don't need to do anything tomorrow morning, and then like sleeping is easy, right? You just like play on your phone until you like get knocked the fuck out, and then you just wake up whenever the fuck you want to. It's easy. But there are people who are like, oh, but I need to sleep 8 hours and I need to wake up at blah blah blah, and then I need that pressure makes sleeping really hard, right? So that is kind of what I'm talking about. Don't try hard at things. Just have a relaxed outlook and just keep adding one thing in your life that gets you closer to the path that you want. And then over time, you recognize how much time you have spent on it and how far you have come from the original point. So, don't try hard, expect difficulty, but only realize that it's just a feeling of difficulty. And you just keep moving forward. Life, as long as you keep it going forward, you can achieve anything in life. And even though you may not achieve it, you just become one step closer to achieving it. Think about this. You know that arrow paradox from the Greek times, right? So for an arrow to hit the target, it needs to travel half the distance first. And then it needs to travel half that distance. And then it needs to travel half that distance. And then it needs to travel half that distance. And then it needs to travel half that distance. So ad infinitum, you realize that the target is never really reached. I want you to think of it like that. Your achievement, think of it as something, as an ideal that you just keep reducing the distance to. Don't think about, why am I not there yet? Because all that's gonna do is just make your life feel a lot harder, like you're trying too hard to sleep.